The sun hung high in the sky, casting a warm glow over the bustling neighborhood park in Chicago. Children laughed and shrieked with delight, their voices mingling with the rustle of freshly cut grass and the distant hum of city life. Among the throngs of parents and caregivers, Emma sat on a weathered bench, her eyes fixed on her son, Jamie, who was racing around the playground, his laughter a sweet melody that filled her heart with warmth. At 5 years old, Jamie was a bundle of energy, his shaggy brown hair bouncing as he dashed from one play structure to another. Emma smiled, her heart swelling with pride as she watched him navigate the jungle gym with the kind of confidence only a child could possess. Yet beneath her smile lay the weight of her struggles as a single mother. Each day brought its own challenges, paying bills, juggling work, and ensuring Jamie had the best life she could provide. In moments like these, in the joyous laughter of her son, she found a fleeting escape from the worries that often clouded her mind. "Mom, look at me!" Jamie shouted, climbing to the top of the slide before launching himself down, his giggles echoing like music. Emma clapped, her heart racing with a mix of joy and concern. "You're so brave, Jamie. Just be careful," she called back, her voice filled with both encouragement and the instinctual caution that every mother felt. As she watched him play, Emma's thoughts drifted. She wished for better opportunities for Jamie, a chance for him to grow up in a world free from the struggle she faced. If only she could offer him the same stability and joy that other children seemed to have. She often found herself imagining a future where Jamie could explore his passions and dreams without the burden of financial worries. Yet, reality always tugged her back, reminding her of the limitations imposed by her circumstances. "Mom, can I have some juice?" Jamie's voice broke through her reverie, pulling her back to the present. He approached her, his face flushed with excitement. "Of course, sweetheart," Emma replied, reaching into the small cooler beside her. As she handed him the juice box, their fingers brushed, and Jamie beamed up at her, his eyes sparkling with innocence. It was moments like this that made the struggle worthwhile. Just then, Emma noticed a boy standing at the edge of the playground. He looked a bit older than Jamie, perhaps around 8 or 9, with tousled hair and a mischievous glint in his eye. He was watching Jamie intently, a sly smile creeping across his face. Emma's instincts kicked in, a familiar sense of protectiveness washing over her. "Stay close, Jamie," she called gently, her eyes darting between her son and the older boy. Jamie, oblivious to the potential threat, continued to sip his juice, blissfully unaware of the dynamics unfolding around him. In a heartbeat, the older boy dashed forward. Emma's heart dropped as she watched, frozen in place, as he reached for Jamie's favorite toy, a bright red dinosaur that had been a gift from her late mother. With swift movements, the boy snatched it from Jamie's hands and took off running toward the nearby trees. "Hey! Come back!" Emma shouted, adrenaline surging through her veins. The world around her blurred as anger and concern ignited within her. She could feel her heart racing, the protective instincts of a mother rising fiercely to the surface. Jamie stood there, momentarily stunned, his eyes wide as he processed what had just happened. "Mom! He took my dinosaur!" he exclaimed, his voice a mix of confusion and dismay. "I know, honey. Stay here," Emma instructed firmly, her voice steady despite the chaos swirling inside her. Without waiting for a response, she took off after the boy, her feet pounding against the pavement. As she sprinted, she could hear Jamie's small voice calling after her, but she knew she had to act fast. The park was a maze of laughter and play, but Emma's focus was solely on the fleeing figure ahead of her. She followed the boy, the distance between them narrowing as he darted down a narrow side street. He glanced back briefly, a flicker of fear flashing across his face when he saw her gaining on him. Emma pushed herself harder, determination fueling her every step. "Stop! Please! Just give it back!" she shouted, her voice cutting through the air. But the boy didn't slow down. Instead, he picked up speed, weaving through the alleyways as if he were a shadow, disappearing into the labyrinth of the neighborhood. Emma's mind raced. What would she say to him? What could she possibly do to get Jamie's toy back? More than the toy itself, it was a symbol of joy, a piece of her mother's love that she had wanted to pass on to Jamie. The thought of losing it felt like losing a part of herself. The streets began to change around her, the vibrant colors of the park replaced by the muted tones of older buildings and faded signs. Emma's heart sank as she realized she was entering a less familiar part of the neighborhood, a place that felt heavy with stories untold. She hesitated for a moment, uncertainty creeping in. But then she remembered Jamie's face, the way his eyes lit up when he played with that dinosaur. She couldn't let him down. Turning a corner, Emma caught a glimpse of the boy slipping into a dilapidated building at the end of the street. Her breath hitched in her throat, and she felt a surge of panic. What kind of place was this? And what could she expect to find inside? But her resolve hardened. She had to confront this situation, not just for Jamie but for herself too. Taking a deep breath, she pressed on, her heart pounding in her chest, each step bringing her closer to the unknown. As she approached the entrance of the building, she paused for a fleeting moment, weighing her options. The door was slightly ajar, and she could hear faint voices inside, punctuated by the sound of laughter. A sound that felt out of place in this desolate setting. Jamie's dinosaur, she whispered to herself, her grip tightening on the strap of her bag as she prepared to step into the shadows. Emma took one last look at the park, where Jamie still played blissfully unaware, and then she stepped into the unknown, her heart racing with a mixture of fear and determination. As Emma ventured deeper into the unfamiliar, run-down neighborhood, the stark contrast to her own community became glaringly apparent. The streets were lined with crumbling buildings, their paint peeling and windows shattered. Graffiti adorned the walls, telling stories of anger and despair. The air was thick with a tension that made her heart race, not just from the urgency of retrieving Jamie's toy but from the palpable sense of danger that lingered in the atmosphere. She could feel her anxiety rising, her protective instincts for Jamie battling against the fear that gripped her as she followed Alex's fleeting figure. Emma's eyes darted around, taking in the rusty cars parked haphazardly and the shadows of figures lingering on street corners, some with expressions that made her stomach churn. She had always thought of herself as resilient, a warrior for her son. But this was a different world, one that made her question her decision to chase after a boy whose motives were still a mystery. What kind of life had Alex led that would drive him to steal a toy from a child? As she turned a corner, she saw Alex pause in front of an old, dilapidated house. The structure leaned slightly to one side, its porch sagging as if burdened by years of neglect. Emma's breath caught in her throat as she ducked behind a nearby car, her heart pounding like a drum. She watched as Alex glanced over his shoulder, a flicker of awareness crossing his face. Did he sense her presence? The thought sent a chill down her spine. "Come on, Emma," she whispered to herself, trying to quell the rising tide of panic. "You can't back out now." With her heart pounding like a war drum, she crouched lower, hoping to remain hidden. She could see Alex, his form silhouetted against the dim light of the house as he hesitated at the entrance, his hand lingering on the door handle. He stepped inside, and Emma felt a surge of conflicting emotions. Part of her wanted to charge in after him, to confront him and demand the toy back. But another part urged caution, urging her to gather information, to understand what drove him to such desperation. As muffled voices drifted from within the house, she strained to hear, hoping they would shed light on the boy's actions. "I'll find something, Mia. I promise," she heard a boy's voice say, his tone laced with determination. Emma's brow furrowed at the mention of a name. Mia? Who was she? And why did Alex need to find something? Her curiosity was piqued, but so was her concern. The voices were low, almost conspiratorial, and she could sense an underlying tension that made her hesitate. Should she leave? Should she confront him? Just as she was about to make a decision, a small, fragile voice broke through her thoughts. "But what if you can't?" "I don't want to be sad anymore, Alex," the girl said, her voice trembling and filled with a childlike longing that tugged at Emma's heartstrings. "Hey, don't say that. I'll find something for us. I'll make you smile, just like before," Alex replied, his determination unwavering despite the uncertainty in his voice. Emma's heart sank. She felt like an intruder, eavesdropping on a conversation that was not meant for her ears. But there was something raw and painful in the exchange that compelled her to stay. She wanted to understand. She wanted to know why a boy would go to such lengths to steal a toy from her son. Was it mere greed, or was there more to the story? She shifted her position slightly, trying to get a better view through a cracked window. The peeling paint and grime obscured her view, but she could make out the outline of two figures inside. One was Alex, his shoulders tense and his posture defensive, while the other was a smaller child, Mia. Emma could see that she looked frail, her thin frame dressed in oversized clothes that hung off her like a scarecrow. Suddenly, the door creaked open, startling Emma. She ducked instinctively, her heart racing as she realized Alex had stepped back outside, his expression a mix of anxiety and defiance. He scanned the area, his eyes darting around as if he were searching for something, or someone. The last thing Emma wanted was to be caught eavesdropping, but her curiosity overrode her instincts. "Why did you take that toy, Alex?" Emma found herself whispering, as if he could hear her. It was a question she needed answered, but she remained silent, an observer in the shadows, waiting to see what would happen next. Alex leaned against the door frame, his breath steadying as he glanced back inside. Mia needs something to keep her spirits up, he muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. It's just a toy. It doesn't mean anything. Emma's heart twisted at his words. A toy didn't mean anything to him, but it meant the world to Jamie. Yet, she wondered what it meant to Mia. What had driven Alex to take such a risk for someone so young and vulnerable? She watched as Alex took a deep breath, steeling himself before he stepped back inside, the door creaking shut behind him. Emma felt a pull of empathy, an understanding that perhaps there was more to this boy than met the eye. The world he inhabited was harsh, and she was beginning to suspect that stealing Jamie's toy was not just an act of malice but a desperate attempt to bring joy to someone who desperately needed it. As minutes passed, Emma wrestled with her emotions. The instinct to protect her son warred with a growing sense of compassion for Alex and Mia. She knew she had to make a choice. Should she barge in, confront Alex, and demand the toy back? Or should she gather more information and try to understand the circumstances that led to this moment? Emma took a deep breath, her mind racing. The muffled voices continued, punctuated by the occasional giggle from Mia that echoed like a chime through the cracked walls. It was a sound that both soothed and unsettled her. There was joy in the midst of despair, and that realization ignited something within her, an urge to bridge the gap between her world and theirs. With renewed determination, she made up her mind. She would confront Alex, but not with anger or reprimands. She wanted to understand. She wanted to know what it felt like to be in his shoes, to feel the weight of responsibility for someone you cared about deeply. Taking a deep breath, she stepped out from behind the car, her heart pounding as she approached the door of the dilapidated house. The moment she reached for the handle, she hesitated, her hand trembling. Emma steeled herself, her resolve hardening. She was not just doing this for Jamie anymore. She was doing it for Mia, for Alex, and for herself. She needed to understand the world beyond her own. They all did. Emma's heart raced as she approached the dilapidated house, the peeling paint and broken fence starkly contrasting the vibrant life she had just left at the park. Peering through the grimy window, she felt a pang of both anger and curiosity. The sight inside was unexpected. Alex, the boy who had stolen Jamie's toy, sat cross-legged on the floor. Beside him was a frail girl, possibly no older than 6, with wispy hair and large, tired eyes that seemed to hold a world of sadness within them. Mia, the girl, clutched Jamie's toy, a brightly colored dinosaur that had once brought endless joy to her son. Emma's heart began to soften as she watched the siblings interact. Alex was trying his best to lift Mia's spirits. "Look, Mia. It's a T-Rex. He's super strong, just like you," he exclaimed, holding the toy aloft as if it were the most precious treasure in the world, his voice filled with a mixture of excitement and tenderness. "Can he fight the bad guys, Alex?" Mia asked, her voice a fragile whisper, yet there was a flicker of hope in her eyes. "Of course. He can fight any bad guy who tries to get to you. I'll make sure of it," Alex replied, grinning widely despite the weariness etched across his face. Emma's chest tightened as she listened to their conversation, the playful banter revealing a bond forged in hardship. Emma's resolve began to waver. She had come here with the intention of confronting Alex, of demanding he return the toy. But now, as she witnessed the flicker of joy in Mia's eyes, she understood that the toy had become so much more than just an object. It was a beacon of hope for the young girl, a momentary escape from the illness that plagued her. As she peered through the cracked window, Emma caught snippets of their conversation. "I wish I could make you better, Mia," Alex said, his voice breaking slightly, revealing the weight of his responsibility. "I'm doing everything I can. I just want you to smile again." Mia looked down, her expression clouded with sadness. "But what if the doctors can't make me better?" she murmured, her small fingers tracing the outline of the dinosaur. "They will. They have to. I'll find a way to make it happen," Alex insisted, his bravado faltering. Emma felt a rush of empathy wash over her, drowning out her initial anger. Here was a boy who was not just a thief, but a brother desperately trying to protect the last flicker of joy in his sister's life. The reality of their situation began to dawn on her, and with it came a painful understanding of the struggles they faced. Emma's heart raced as she quietly stepped back from the window, contemplating her next move. Should she confront Alex? Should she take Jamie's toy back and leave? Or was there a way to understand their plight better? Torn between anger and compassion, she took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. She resolved to at least hear them out, to understand the story behind the theft. Gathering her courage, she pushed the creaking door open, the sound echoing in the silence of the room. The moment she stepped inside, both Alex and Mia froze, their eyes wide with surprise. Alex quickly tucked the toy behind him, instinctively protective. "What are you doing here?" he asked, a mix of fear and defiance in his voice. Mia shrank behind her brother, uncertainty clouding her features. Emma stammered, her heart pounding in her chest. "I saw you with the toy, and I wanted to know why you took it." Her voice was steadier than she felt, but she could see the tension in Alex's shoulders, the way he clenched his fists. "Because it's not just a toy," he shot back defensively. "Mia needs it. She needs something to smile about." The fierce protectiveness in his tone caught Emma off guard. Emma's expression softened, and she stepped further into the room. "I understand that. But stealing isn't the right way to go about it. You could have just asked. Like what?" "Excuse me, ma'am, can I have your son's toy?" Alex interrupted, his voice rising in frustration. "You don't know what it's like. You don't know what we're going through." Mia's eyes glistened with unshed tears as she clung to her brother's arm, her small frame trembling. Emma's heart ached at the sight. She could feel the weight of Alex's words, the truth behind his anger. "Then tell me," Emma said softly, her voice almost a whisper. "What are you going through?" Alex's expression faltered, the fight leaving him momentarily. He glanced at Mia, who looked up at him with wide eyes, silently urging him to share. "Our mom is in the hospital," he finally admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "She's really sick. I'm trying to make Mia happy while she's gone. I thought if I could bring her something special, it would help." Emma's heart sank as the pieces fell into place. The reality of their lives hit her with the force of a tidal wave. "I had no idea," she said slowly, her tone shifting from confrontation to understanding. "I'm so sorry." Mia looked up at Emma, her innocence shining through the shadows of fear and uncertainty. "I like dinosaurs," she said softly, her voice trembling. "They make me happy." Emma knelt down to Mia's level, her gaze gentle. "I can see that. He's a really cool dinosaur. What's his name?" Mia hesitated, then smiled shyly. "His name is Spike." "Spike, huh? That's a great name for a dinosaur," Emma replied, her heart swelling with compassion. She glanced at Alex, who was watching them intently, his defenses slowly crumbling. "You're a really good brother, Alex. It's clear you care about Mia a lot." A flicker of pride and vulnerability passed over Alex's face, and he nodded slowly. "I just want her to be happy, even if it's just for a moment." Emma felt her chest tighten. Here was a boy who had resorted to desperate measures to bring joy to his sick sister. Suddenly, the anger she had felt earlier seemed trivial in light of their reality. "What if," she began hesitantly, "what if I could help?" Alex's brow furrowed in confusion. "Help how?" "Maybe we can find some toys together, or I can bring over some meals. You and Mia shouldn't have to go through this alone," Emma offered, the warmth of empathy filling her voice. Both siblings stared at her in disbelief. Alex was taken aback, and Mia's eyes widened with hope. "You'd really help us?" Alex asked, his voice laced with skepticism. "Yes, I would. I can't promise everything will be okay, but I can be here for you," Emma said firmly, feeling a sense of purpose swell within her. She wanted to bridge the gap between their worlds, to create a connection that could help them weather the storm ahead. Mia looked between Emma and Alex, her small hands fidgeting nervously. "Can we keep Spike?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper, yet filled with hope. Emma glanced at the toy, then back at Mia. "Why don't we share him? I can bring over some toys for both of you, and you can keep Spike for now. Maybe he can help you feel better, Mia." Mia's face lit up with gratitude, and Emma felt a warmth spread through her heart. It was a small gesture, but it felt monumental in the moment. Alex looked on, his expression softening, the walls he had built around himself beginning to crumble. "Thank you," he said quietly, his voice filled with sincerity. Emma smiled, feeling a sense of connection forming between them, one that transcended the initial confrontation. As she stood there, surrounded by the remnants of anger and misunderstanding, Emma realized that this moment was just the beginning of something much bigger. A chance to foster compassion in the face of adversity and to show that even in the darkest of times, kindness could shine through. As Emma stepped into the dimly lit living room, the sudden intrusion startled both Alex and Mia. The air was thick with tension, and for a brief moment, the three of them stood frozen, each grappling with the weight of the unexpected encounter. Emma's heart raced, her earlier determination morphing into uncertainty as she locked eyes with Alex, who clutched Jamie's toy defensively. "Why did you take my son's toy?" Emma demanded, her voice shaky but firm. She felt an overwhelming urge to protect her child, yet the sight of the two children, one frail and the other visibly tense, began to chip away at her anger. Alex shifted uncomfortably, his gaze dropping to the floor. I didn't mean any harm, he stammered, the words tumbling out awkwardly. I just wanted to make her smile. He nodded toward Mia, who sat on the tattered couch, her large eyes filled with a mix of fear and hope. Emma's heart sank as she took in the scene. Mia looked so fragile, her skin pale and her lips slightly chapped. The room around them was sparse, the furniture worn and mismatched, echoing a life that had seen better days. What do you mean? Why would you steal? Emma pressed, her protective instincts battling with the growing empathy she felt for the siblings. Because, Alex's voice trembled, and he glanced at Mia, who reached out to him, her small hand resting on his arm. Because our mom is in the hospital. She's really sick, and I need to make Mia happy. We don't have toys, and I thought maybe, this would help her feel better. Emma's chest tightened, the harsh reality of Alex's words hitting her like a wave. Your mother is in the hospital? She asked softly, her tone shifting from confrontation to compassion. She took a step closer, her heart aching for the boy who stood before her, the weight of the world clearly resting heavily on his young shoulders. Yeah, Alex whispered, his voice cracking. She's been there for weeks. I don't know when she's coming home, and Mia, he paused, glancing back at his sister, who was now looking up at him with trust and admiration. Mia needs something to cheer her up. I just wanted to give her something that would make her smile, even if it's just for a little while. Emma looked down at the toy in Alex's hand, the bright colors and cheerful design starkly contrasting with the somber mood of the room. It was a simple action figure, one that Jamie loved dearly, but now it felt like so much more. It wasn't just a toy, it was a symbol of hope, a beacon of joy for Mia in a time of darkness. How long has your mother been in the hospital? Emma asked gently, her voice barely above a whisper. She could feel the tears welling up in her eyes as she observed the bond between the siblings. This was not just a case of theft, this was a desperate act born from love and necessity. Almost a month, Alex replied, his voice barely audible. She got really sick, and they said she needs treatment. I've been trying to take care of Mia, but I can't do it all by myself. His shoulders slumped, the weight of his worries evident in his posture. Mia, sensing the intensity of the conversation, reached out for Alex's hand, intertwining her fingers with his. I miss Mommy, she said softly, her voice small and fragile. I just want her to come home. The sadness in her voice pierced through Emma's heart, and she felt a surge of empathy for the little girl. Emma knelt down to Mia's level, her heart breaking at the sight of the young girl's teary eyes. It's okay to miss her, sweetie, Emma said, her voice soothing. I'm sure she misses you too. You're being so strong for your brother. She looked back up at Alex, whose face was a mask of worry. You're doing an amazing job taking care of her. Thanks, but it's hard, Alex admitted, his bravado crumbling under the weight of their reality. I just want her to be happy while we wait for Mom to get better. In that moment, Emma's perspective shifted entirely. The anger that had surged through her earlier began to dissipate, replaced by a profound sense of compassion for these two children who were just trying to navigate a world that had become unbearably heavy for them. I understand, she said softly, her heart aching for both of them. You're both going through so much. Emma took a deep breath, the realization dawning on her that this was not just about a toy, it was about two siblings fighting to maintain a sense of normalcy amidst chaos. What if, she began hesitantly, what if we found some toys together? I can help you gather some things for Mia, and we could even bring some food too. Would that help? Alex's eyes widened in surprise, the defensiveness melting away as he processed her words. You would really do that? For us? His voice was incredulous, a mix of hope and disbelief. Of course I would, Emma replied, her sincerity evident. You don't have to go through this alone. We can figure this out together. Mia's face lit up with a tentative smile, her innocence shining through the heavy atmosphere. Really? You'll help us? Absolutely, Emma said, her heart full. But first, let's talk about how we can make sure you both have what you need, okay? As they began to discuss their next steps, Emma found herself feeling a warmth growing inside her. The anger and frustration that had motivated her pursuit of the toy were now replaced with a sense of purpose and connection. She could see the resilience in Alex, the love he held for his sister, and it reminded her of her own struggles as a single mother. I know things are tough right now, but it's important to hold on to hope, Emma said, her voice steady as she looked at both children. We'll figure this out together. As the conversation flowed, Emma felt a bond forming between them, one that transcended the circumstances that had brought them together. She realized that they were not so different after all. They were all just trying to navigate life's challenges, seeking connection and support in a world that often felt isolating. Let's make a plan, Emma suggested, her mind racing with possibilities. We can start by going to the park this weekend. I can bring some toys for Mia and some snacks. And maybe we can organize a small drive for more toys and food for families in need. What do you think? Alex looked at her, his eyes filled with a mixture of hope and uncertainty. You really mean it? You'd do that for us? Of course, Emma replied with a smile. And I know some other parents who would love to help too. You're not alone in this. As she spoke, Emma felt a surge of determination. She would not only help Alex and Mia but also create a ripple effect within her own community. Perhaps this was the beginning of something greater, a chance to forge new connections and strengthen the bonds that held them all together. Mia's smile widened, and for the first time, the weight of the room felt a little lighter. Emma knew they still had a long way to go, but in that moment, amidst the shadows of hardship, she saw the flicker of hope shining brightly. Emma took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment settle over her. She had never imagined herself in this situation, standing in a dilapidated living room with two children who were both strangers and yet strangely familiar. The air was thick with unspoken words, and she could feel the tension between herself and Alex. His defensiveness hung in the air like a low fog, but beneath it, she sensed a flicker of vulnerability. Listen, Alex, she began softly, her voice almost a whisper. I understand that you're trying to do something good for your sister. I really do. But stealing isn't the way to go about it. She paused, searching for the right words. What if we find a better way together? Alex's eyes widened in surprise. You want to help us? Emma nodded, her heart swelling with compassion as she looked over at Mia, who sat on the worn couch, hugging the toy tightly. The little girl's eyes, so bright yet dimmed by illness, darted between her brother and the unexpected visitor. Emma could see the worry etched on Mia's face, the fear that their fragile world might shatter at any moment. Yeah, Emma continued, her resolve strengthening. I know it's hard, and I know you want to bring some joy to Mia. I can help with that. We could find toys together, or I could bring you both some meals. You don't have to do this alone. Alex looked down, uncertainty flickering across his face. But why would you help us? You don't even know us. I may not know you fully, but I know what it's like to struggle, Emma replied, her voice steady. I'm a single mom too, and I want to help. We all need a little kindness sometimes, don't we? Mia, who had been quietly listening, finally spoke up. I just want to feel better. I miss playing. Her voice was soft, almost a plea, and it tugged at Emma's heartstrings. Emma knelt down to Mia's level, looking into her innocent eyes. I know. That's why I want to help. How about we find some toys together? I can bring Jamie too, and we can have a fun day just playing. Alex shifted uncomfortably, still processing her offer. Are you sure? We don't want to be a burden. Emma smiled gently. You could never be a burden. You both matter, and I want to make sure you know that. We all need friends. For a moment, silence enveloped the room as Alex weighed her words. Emma could see the internal battle within him, his instinct to protect his sister clashing with the realization that accepting help could ease their burden. Finally, he nodded slowly. Okay, I guess we could try that. A wave of relief washed over Emma. Great. Let's start with meals. Is there a day that works best for you? Mia perked up, her eyes sparkling with hope. Can we have spaghetti? It's my favorite. Spaghetti it is. Emma laughed, her heart warming at the girl's enthusiasm. I'll bring enough for all of us. And maybe some cookies too. Cookies? Mia squealed, a bright smile breaking through her frail demeanor. Emma turned to Alex, who was finally cracking a shy smile. What do you think? Does that sound good? Yeah, that sounds nice, Alex admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. As they began to share stories, a bond began to form in the small, cramped living room. Emma learned that Mia loved to draw, filling her hospital days with colorful pictures of their dog Sparky, who had passed away a few months ago. In turn, Mia listened wide-eyed as Emma spoke of her own childhood adventures, hiking with her father in the nearby woods and the time she got lost in a corn maze. Alex listened intently, sharing snippets of his life too, How he had to take care of Mia while their mother was in the hospital, how he often skipped school to earn some money doing odd jobs, and how much he missed his mother's cooking. Emma felt the weight of his words, realizing how much responsibility he had taken on at such a young age. "Do you ever get a break?" Emma asked gently, her heart aching for him. "No," Alex replied, a hint of bitterness creeping into his voice. "But I can't complain. Mia needs me. We have to take care of each other." Emma nodded, admiring his dedication but feeling a deep sadness for the burdens he carried. "You're a good brother, Alex. It's clear how much you love her." "Thanks," he muttered, looking down at his hands. I want to make her happy." As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow through the broken window, Emma knew it was time to leave. She stood up, brushing off her jeans. "All right, I have one last thing to do before I go." Alex's eyebrows furrowed in confusion. "What do you mean?" Emma reached into her bag and pulled out Jamie's toy, the very one that had caused this entire chain of events. "Mia, I want you to have this. It's a gift from me and Jamie." Mia's eyes widened, and for a moment, she looked as if she might cry. "But it's Jamie's favorite toy." "I know," Emma replied, her voice steady. "But I want you to have it. It's important for you to have something that brings you joy. Jamie will understand. Sometimes, sharing brings more happiness than keeping everything to ourselves." Alex's expression shifted to one of concern. "Are you sure? I don't want to take away from Jamie." Emma smiled gently, her heart swelling with love for both children. "You won't be taking anything away. You'll be giving Mia something that can help her smile, and that's what matters most. Besides, we'll find more toys together." Alex hesitated, glancing at Mia, who looked at the toy with an expression of pure longing. Finally, he nodded, albeit reluctantly. "Okay, if you really want to." Mia's face lit up, and she reached out tentatively to take the toy. "Thank you. I promise I'll take care of it." Emma felt warmth spread through her as she watched Mia clutch the toy tightly to her chest, a smile breaking across her face. "I know you will, sweetheart. Just remember, you're not alone. We're all here for you." As Emma turned to leave, she glanced back at Alex and Mia, who were now sitting together on the couch, their bond visibly strengthened. Emma felt a sense of hope blooming within her heart, realizing that sometimes, the most unexpected connections could lead to the most profound transformations. The world outside may have been harsh and unforgiving, but in this small living room filled with shared stories and newfound friendships, a flicker of hope had ignited, illuminating the path ahead for all of them. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm golden hue over the park as Emma set up for the community picnic. She spread a checkered blanket on the grass, the scent of freshly cut lawn mingling with a faint aroma of hot dogs sizzling on a nearby grill. The laughter of children filled the air, a sound that warmed her heart. This was the day she had envisioned, a day of connections, support and friendship for families in need, especially for Alex and Mia. As she worked, Emma's thoughts drifted back to the moment she had decided to reach out to Alex and Mia. It had been a whirlwind of emotions, anger at the theft, empathy for their plight, and ultimately, a desire to help. The idea of organizing this picnic had sprouted from that moment, a chance not only to bring joy to Mia but also to foster a sense of community. She had put up flyers around her neighborhood, asking for donations of toys, food, and any support people could offer. "Hey Emma!" A familiar voice called out. It was Sarah, one of her neighbors, carrying a large basket filled with sandwiches and fruit. "I brought some goodies." "Thank you, Sarah," Emma replied, her face lighting up at the sight of her friend. "This means so much to me, and to them." As Sarah helped set up, more families began to arrive, each bringing something to share. Emma felt a swell of gratitude as she watched people come together, a tapestry of diverse backgrounds united for a common cause. When Alex and Mia finally arrived, Emma's heart skipped a beat. Mia, with her frail frame and bright smile, clutched a small stuffed bear, the very toy that had once belonged to Jamie. It was a poignant reminder of their shared journey. "Hi Mia." "Hi Alex." Emma greeted them, her voice warm and inviting. "I'm so glad you could make it." "Thanks for inviting us," Alex said, his demeanor more relaxed than it had been during their first encounter. Mia stepped forward, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "I love it here," she exclaimed, looking around at the picnic spread. Emma knelt down to meet Mia at eye level. "I'm so happy to hear that. We have games planned, and lots of food. Do you want to help me with the games?" Mia nodded vigorously, her enthusiasm infectious. "Yes, please." As they began to set up a simple game of sack races, Emma caught a glimpse of Alex standing slightly apart, his expression a mix of uncertainty and hope. She motioned for him to join them. "Alex, come help us. The more, the merrier." With a hesitant smile, he walked over, and together they arranged the burlap sacks in a neat line. "You know, I didn't expect this many people to show up," Alex admitted, glancing around at the growing crowd. "It's amazing what a little kindness can do," Emma replied, her heart swelling with pride at the community's response. People want to help, especially when they see someone in need. As the games began, laughter erupted from children of all ages. Emma watched as Mia and Jamie raced together, their joy infectious. They stumbled and fell, but instead of tears, there was laughter. Emma felt a sense of fulfillment, seeing the connection grow between her son and Mia. It was a beautiful sight, one that reminded her of the power of compassion. "Hey, Emma!" A voice called out, breaking her reverie. It was Mark, a local news reporter she had met during her community outreach efforts. "I heard about what you're doing here today. Mind if we capture some of this?" Emma's heart raced with a mix of excitement and nervousness. "Of course. I'd love that." She gestured for Alex and Mia to join her, wanting them to be part of this moment. As the camera rolled, Emma shared the purpose of the picnic. "Today is about bringing our community together to support families who need it. Alex and Mia have been through a lot, and we're here to show them they're not alone." Alex stood beside Emma, a hint of pride on his face as he looked at Mia, who beamed up at him. The camera panned to their smiling faces, capturing the essence of hope and resilience. Emma could see the spark of excitement in Mia's eyes, a contrast to the fear and uncertainty that had once clouded them. "Can we get a few words from Alex and Mia?" Mark asked, his tone encouraging. Emma felt a flutter of anxiety for the siblings, but she squeezed Alex's shoulder reassuringly. "Sure," Alex said, taking a deep breath. "This picnic means a lot to us. We don't have much, but today feels different. We feel loved." Mia nodded, her small voice barely above a whisper. "I like it here. And I like my new friends." The camera captured this moment, and Emma felt a rush of warmth. This was what she had hoped for, to create a sense of belonging, to show Alex and Mia that they were not alone in their struggles. As the picnic continued, the atmosphere was electric with laughter, shared meals, and stories exchanged. Emma moved through the crowd, ensuring everyone felt welcome and included. She felt fulfilled, knowing that this small act of kindness had grown into something bigger, a movement of hope within their community. Just as Emma was about to gather everyone for a group photo, Mark approached her again, his expression serious. "Emma, I have to tell you we plan to air this story tonight. Your community's response could help bring more support to Alex and Mia's family. It's a powerful message." Emma's heart raced at the thought. "Really? That's incredible. I just wanted to help. I never imagined it would go this far." Mark smiled. "Sometimes, it just takes one person to spark change. You've done that today." As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of pink and orange, Emma gathered everyone for a final photo. She stood in the center, flanked by Alex and Mia, their smiles radiant. The camera clicked, capturing a moment of unity that transcended their individual struggles. With the picnic winding down, Emma felt a gentle tap on her shoulder. Turning around, she found Alex looking a bit shy. "Thank you for everything, Emma. I didn't think people like you cared." Emma knelt down, meeting his gaze. "People do care, Alex. And you matter. You and Mia both deserve kindness and support." With tears glistening in his eyes, Alex replied softly, "I want to help others too. Like you helped us." And in that moment, Emma knew that they had forged a bond that would last beyond this day. She embraced him and Mia, the warmth of their shared experience wrapping around them like a comforting blanket. As the last rays of sunlight faded, the laughter and chatter of the picnic lingered in the air, a testament to the power of community and the unbreakable bonds forged in the face of adversity. Emma felt a renewed sense of purpose, knowing that together, they could face whatever challenges lay ahead.